Phil, that was Ira Israel. Fascinating guy. Obviously, has very strong feelings about life and about the society we live in and why we are the way we are. And it's very thought provoking.
Yes, indeedy. I met Ira a few years ago in LA, and he's one of the people who are sort of on that cross section of psychotherapy and spirituality
Hmm.
that has come a really long way in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I was in clinical psych in graduate school in the early '70s, and right after I got involved in TM and meditation, and if I brought it up, it was really not taken seriously. It was really considered from other dimensional, and by most, not by all. I was on the East Coast, maybe in California, there was a little bit more receptivity. Now it's definitely become very much mainstream. I think not only in the United States, but in Europe and Asia and other parts of the world as well.
Yep.
What he was discussing, it's interesting. I think everybody tries to strike a balance between making themselves and their families materially comfortable and not getting so obsessed and absorbed in material comfort that one loses sight of everything else in life. On the other hand, if like he mentioned, people have anxiety because they have student loans and medical bills and all, and for people that have student loans and medical bills and that sort of thing, it's hard for them not to focus on that aspect of their life and the pressures it puts upon them. So I don't know that there's any easy answer to that.
No, it's more complicated, and I'm sure he understands that. I
Absolutely.
mean, um, being on a spiritual path, and you realize that making more money or having more possessions or status is
Right.
not going to make you fulfilled.
Right.
That's one thing. The other, but at the same time, if you can't feed yourself or your children and you're constantly worried about being evicted or, you know, uh, in some other way becoming destitute or not having your needs met, it's not the same thing as, oh, I'll never be happy unless I get a new car or a bigger house. I mean, then you have legitimate physical needs that have to be met, or else it's going to be a detriment to your spiritual life.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's something everybody, not just in our culture, but in all cultures, struggles with and deals with, and even people we know in spiritual communities and who are very committed to spirituality, and even spiritual organizations that promote spirituality deal with these things. The balance between uh, financial stability, which is in many ways necessary for an even keel and a balance and a happiness in life, with becoming overly absorbed with material gain, which gives one
Yes,
power, and
and
it's endless. There was a recent article that came out, and probably everybody's seen it, from somebody that worked in hospice, and some of the things that people bring up that are facing death, that are very close, that know they're going to be dying soon, and the things that they are happy about, the things they regret. And one of the points was, being too obsessed with money, being spending too
right,
much time in the office and all that. So,
right.
but
Well,
it's a daily struggle, and I think if one is engaged in meditation and spiritual practice, it makes it easier to strike a balance.
yeah, and it makes it easier to be comfortable with a simpler life and
Hmm.
not be constantly striving for more and being acquisitive and being able to live well and devote your time to spiritual pursuits and not feel jealousy and envy and the constant drive to be uh, to acquire more. But as what you said is very true. We live in the real world, and if you look at the householder teachings, as opposed to the monastic teachings that come to us from the East, prosperity and being comfortable on a material level is considered a very important aspect of life and a blessing, because then you're anxiety free and can more easily put attention on your spiritual life.
Right.
But everybody deals with it. Let's finish this biography of one of the great spiritual teachers of our era, of Yogananda. He was dealing with money issues his whole adult life, trying to make his organization sound, on sound footing for, both, especially in the years. You see his letters and so forth in the 30s, and he's just that's a constant struggle, and having to get devotees to contribute, and to just cover the mortgage at one point, and to fix up the facility so people could live comfortably, to publish books and send out mailings. I mean, people, even on that level, they have to deal with these financial issues. So.
Right. Very interesting. And you also touched upon something that affects us all, and that is, in our interactions with people, often people meet you and they think, okay, how is this going to benefit me, either financially or otherwise? And that probably that's not the best way to approach people. To do,
and I'm sure
yeah.
It's a cliche in LA, and it's true, to a large extent. But I'm sure it's everywhere. People have an instrumental attitude toward sometimes to meeting new people. You see it at parties. It's a cliche. It's like, I'm in this nice conversation, and you realize, this person just realized I'm in no position to help him, so he's looking around the room.
Right. No, I mean, I had David Gergen, advisor to several presidents. I had him as a professor, and he said, beware if you're in a party and you're talking to somebody and you're looking over your shoulder to see if somebody more important is walking in the room. But I wonder if back in the day of cavemen and cavewomen, if they didn't do the same thing. I wonder if this guy will help me get a bigger fur, or trap a bigger animal, or hunt down a bigger animal, whatever they did back then. Or perhaps if we really befriend so and so over there, we'll be able to move into a much bigger cave with more sunlight and everything we've always dreamed of. So.
Yeah. Well, and think of it, that's take it to the next level when it comes to mating.
Oh yeah.
How that factored into who married whom and who had whose children.
Yeah.
This is just human life.
Yeah.
But if you awaken to spiritual the benefits of a spiritual life, of developing from the inside, you realize there's a limitation to that kind of thing, and that it always leads to dissatisfaction. As the Buddha said, the life in the world is always going to lead to some incompleteness or dissatisfaction. So there it is.
Yeah, Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, anybody out there listening in, just listen to all of our interviews in a short period of time, and all of these questions will be answered, and you'll be on the path of all paths. Something like that. No, we're not getting young.
And then you can help us.
Yeah.
By getting us sponsors and so forth.
Yeah. Which is a real point. We are enjoying being on the air. We have listeners now from all over the world. We see the stats on that. And we'd like to keep it going. But yeah, Phil and I have been really just focused on our spiritual pursuits to the point where we have to figure out how we keep this going. So write in and give us that information. And tell your friends about Spirit Matters Talk, found at spiritmatterstalk.com. Always happy to bring you interviews focusing on contemporary spirituality, and we got a lot of great ones coming up.
That's right.
All
To
right,
be announced.
in the near
Okay,
future.
Dennis.
Next time, over and out.
Bye.